Eversolo has become a popular brand almost instantly, and rightly so. In this video I look at the AMP-F10 amplifier that comes in the same design as the flagship AMP-A10 streamer. I tested 4 Eversolo streamers: the AMP-A6, the AMP-A6 Master Edition, the AMP-A8 and the AMP-A10. I chose the AMP-A6 Master Edition with B-Technique LPS A6 linear power supply for my reference setup 2B. I could have chosen one of the other 4 for my reference setup up to 1B, but that would have seemed like I am an Eversolo subsidiary. Anyway, the F1 on review here is clearly made to team up with the A10. It has about the same cabinet, although being taller. And instead of a display there are 2 mechanical power meters. But let's first see where the F1 finds its place in a stereo. Since the F10 is a power amplifier, it needs to have a pair of loudspeakers connected to the outputs. On the input it needs a preamplifier, also called control amplifier. It lets you select input and set volume, and often also offers tone control. Your music sources are connected to the preamplifier, like for instance a network player, aka a streamer. Its analog outputs are connected to the preamplifier. It also needs to be connected to your home network then, over either a network cable or Wi-Fi, so it can access internet sources and perhaps also music you have stored on your computer or NAS. The network player is usually controlled over a smartphone or tablet. The function of the preamplifier and network player can be combined in one device, like with the Eversolo AMP-A series. The F10 is rather large and heavy. It measures 430 by 310 by 147 mm and weighs 17 kilos. On the front is a standby button and 2 mechanical power meters that indicate the power in watts in 4 ohm. Eversolo call them VU meters. These meters are very brightly illuminated with a very high color temperature. I would have preferred a warmer color and more dimmed illumination. On the rear we find the balanced inputs on 3-pole XLRs, the unbalanced inputs on RCA, and between them the input selectors. The IC mains inlet is situated next to the main fuse holder and the power switch. The standby mode switch lets you select between signal or trigger. The first switches the amp out of standby when a signal comes in. The second when a 12V DC is fed to the trigger input, or when no trigger cable is used, the power button on the front is pressed. Next to it the trigger input and the trigger output. The bridge/stereo switch lets you put the amp in or out of bridge mode. In bridge mode the left and right channel are added together to output as a mono signal at double the power. In this mode you connect only one speaker to the plus loudspeaker terminals of both channels and use a second F10 in bridge mode for the other channel. On the no condition should the loudspeaker terminals in bridge mode be grounded, like is the case when you connect a subwoofer via the loudspeaker terminals. The sensitivity switch changes the gain of the amplifier with 6 dB from 23 dB to 29 dB. When in doubt, set it to 23 dB and switch to 29 dB only when the output level is too low. When in bridge mode, use these 2 loudspeaker terminals. See the polarity in the white labels. A ground terminal concludes the tour of the back. Looking inside we see the layout of a classic AB amplifier in dual mono setup built to high standards. At low level it's in class A, but if power is needed it goes into class AB. At what level is not specified. In the middle we see a very large toroidal transformer. This is better seen in a close-up of the freestanding power supply. Along the sides are the power supplies for the power amplifiers, with 4 proprietary 10,000 microfarads electrolytic capacitors per side. The linear power supply for the input circuits can be found here, while a switch mode power supply is used for the standby mode only. This way there is a very low power consumption during standby mode. The audio circuit that connects to the audio inputs and switch functions on the back also holds the ultra low noise differential amplifier module as input buffer per channel. Another module can be found on both power amp boards. It was given the name superlinear differential amplifier module. This photo shows it better. One of the input modules can be seen on the left and the switch mode power supply can be seen here. Again only used during standby to keep the power consumption very low. The F10 delivers 200 watts in 8 ohms, 320 watts in 4 ohms and 450 watts in 2 ohms. Your preamplifier needs to be able to output at least 2.4 volts RMS in the 29 dB sensitivity position. In the 23 dB position 5.2 volts RMS is needed for full output. Most preamps or network players with preamp functions will supply this. What's to say? It's a power amp connected to a preamp or network player with preamp functionality built in. Set the standby mode switch to signal, the sensitivity switch to 23 dB and the mode switch to stereo. Connect a pair of loudspeakers to the loudspeaker terminals using a pair of good loudspeaker cables. Flip the power switch on the back and enjoy the music. If the sound level can't get high enough, set the sensitivity switch to 29 dB. If that doesn't give you enough power, buy a second F10 and set both of them in bridge mode. Then you have 950 watts RMS in 4 ohm per amp. And if that's not enough, I think even hearing aids won't help. I started off in my reference setup 1B, where the F10 was connected to the PMC FAC12 signature loudspeakers on Stack Audio OVA 17 isolators and connected over AudioQuest Robinhood Zero loudspeaker cable. The input signal was taken care of by the Mytek Brooklyn Bridge room server, room player and preamp. Here used as room player and preamp. It was connected to the F10 over Grim Audio SQM XLR cables. The PSI Audio AVA active bass trap provides measures against room modes. The network connection comes from the Zixel GS1900-10HP switch, to which the Mytek was connected over a Network Acoustics Eno 2 system Ethernet filter and cabling. Also connected to the Zixel switch was a Zixel Odido modem, which provides internet access via a Nokia media converter to the 1 gigabit up and down fiber internet connection. The small green computer Sonic Transporter i7 CRD running Roon server, Minim server and Ordivana core server was also connected to the Zixel switch via a patch cable. The iPad Pro 2 was used to control Roon and equipment was placed in a Creative Trend 3-3 rack. There's nothing wrong with Class D, but listening to the F10 and comparing it to the Class D power amps in the same price category, it just has so much more charm, gives more involvement. The sound character would be described by many as warm, but not at the expense of resolution or attack. Grand Piano not only has an open right hand, but also a left hand with lots of authority. Both upright bass and bass guitars sound live and natural, with a natural power in the lower regions as you experience during live concerts. Brass, as in a big band, has power without getting harsh unless it's intentional. And when brass goes well, voices normally do so too. Also in this case, it's even more forgiving than other amps when voice is not recorded very well. Only the deepest electronic bass sounds are slightly less well controlled than the air amp that normally plays here. For me, the F10 clearly outperforms the Class D amps in this price class I reviewed last year. Just out of curiosity, I replaced the Mytek for the Grim Audio Mute 2. functionally identical as Roon server, Roon player and preamp, but then 4 times the price. It was connected to the main Zixel switch over a network audio Mu Pro system Ethernet filter and cabling. For the rest the setup was identical to how tested number 1. The difference in sound quality was less significant than I experienced with the Air amplifier. For a price 10 times higher it should be, right? Nevertheless, the result was still very musical. I could easily live with this setup. This is a very fine sounding amp, very natural, neutral and involving. There's nothing special about a Class AB amp that is Class A biased at low level. It becomes special when designed, engineered, built and voiced with knowledge, experience and good taste. That must have happened with the F10. In my country the retail price including 21% VAT is €2,580. In the US the price excluding sales tax and possible tariff war influences is $2,480. More than fair pricing for the sound quality. Add to that the high quality design and build quality and I can only be very enthusiastic. And that brings us to the end of this video. There will be a new video coming soon, so subscribe to this channel or follow me on Patreon, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram or TikTok to stay up to date on new videos. Patreon and YouTube Premium subscribers see my videos a week earlier and ad-free. Help me reach even more people by giving this video a thumbs up or linking to this video on social media. I would really appreciate that. A big thank you to the viewers who support this channel financially. It keeps me independent and would be a nice sign of appreciation for my work. Want to support my work? You can find the links in the description below this video on YouTube. I'm Hans Beekhuizen, thank you for watching and see you in the next video. And whatever you do, enjoy the music.